Greetings and salutations. Hello and how are you? My name is Jake Query. That is the stoic Derek Schultz.
Hi.
It is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Query and Schultz program here on ISC Sports Network, and the Indianapolis Colts suck. Derek?
Whoa, so we're just going to be blunt about it, huh? That's not very 'tis the season of you.
Okay.
To just kind of come out and say it that way.
Do you want to redo it?
Yeah, let's redo it. Okay. And remember that holiday cheer and all of that, right? We're coming off Thanksgiving. Happy thoughts.
Here we go. Ho, ho, ho. How are you? My name is Jake Query, and that is Derek Schultz.
Hi.
This is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Query and Schultz program here on the ISC Sports Network. And the Indianapolis Colts have brought you a huge lump of coal in your stocking because they suck.
That's still kind of mean. How about our Indianapolis Colts fought valiantly in a primetime game against a storied NFL franchise and fell just a wee bit short?
The Colts fell just a little bit short to a storied franchise that has 3 wins and came in with a rookie quarterback with little hands that has 3 touchdowns and 8 interceptions on the season.
Forgot about
and he was throwing to a rookie wide receiver the Colts bypassed on, while the Colts rookie wide receiver had a key drop late in the game that would have cost them, or that would have put them in position, I should say, and ended up costing them as they lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers, mostly because they suck.
Here, let's do. How about this? Because obviously, I'm not gonna, gloss over it. It was not a good performance, especially that first half last night. We're taping this right now on Tuesday, as you guys probably know. Glass half full here. At least now, if you were still holding out hope that something was going to happen for this team in 2022, at least now we can officially put that to bed.
Yeah,
Colts
you would think that they'd
have to win
now,
out.
right?
I mean, they'd have to win out, and look, that's not happening. There's no way that they're going
Derek,
to go 5-0.
You could make the argument that they're heading into the hardest part of their schedule.
Yeah, there's just no way that they're.
they've still got
starting
Dallas,
Sunday night. I mean, starting Sunday night, that's a buzzsaw type game
at Dallas, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then and I don't know the order here, but they go Minnesota.
Yep.
The Chargers, which is here. The Giants
on the road.
And
your 3 toughest games are all on the road.
How about this? How many people are going to be?
See, like, you're taking pleasure in this, and that's really sad to me. This is actually not a
how many people
not
are
a
going,
happy thing.
Okay.
Okay, it's our Colts, Jake. Yell, scream, go horse.
How many people will?
You're mocking it.
How many people are going to be on January 8th at the game between the Indianapolis Colts and the Houston Texans?
I mean, I think you could still put at least 400 or 500 people in there for that game.
What viewing options on television nationally will get more eyes than the Indianapolis Colts Houston Texans pillow fight on January 8th?
You could have, look, I don't think this is going to happen because I think the Colts, you know how this team is, right? They'll find a way to beat like the Giants or somebody, right? Don't you think so?
Yeah, I mean.
But there is a chance that we're talking about 2 teams in top 5 pick range, certainly for Houston.
The Colts right now are 14th in the draft. To be fair.
But that's going to sink real soon, Jake.
To be fair.
That's
the Colts are not – they do have some talent. My concern is that by then they will have completely punted on the season and they have a roster of people that are just going through the motions.
And Jaguars won, Browns won, Raiders won. So all of these teams that were originally behind you probably are going to pass you here. And that's a good thing. I mean, in the scope of what's best for this team moving forward, it's best right now for the losses to come. Look, I know people get defensive about tanking and, well, you should never ask professionals to tank and losing culture. Losing culture, what was the Colts' culture in 2011? And what'd they do the next year? They won 11 games. What was the Giants' culture last year? How's the Steelers' culture been for them so far in 2022, last night aside? Right. That culture stuff, like a lot of that stuff is just nonsense. It's just stuff that we say. I think the Colts will be fine struggling here down the stretch, and I don't think it'll have any ramification for who they are in 2023 and beyond.
I just think, Derek, the difficult thing about the Colts this year, and the thing that is so disappointing, kidding aside, okay, the thing that I think is so disappointing to so many people is the areas that have cost the Colts this season are things that you talked about, I talked about, my mom talked about, my mailman talked about. And the Colts insisted that we were all wrong. The offensive line was fixed. The wide receiver position did not need to be addressed externally. The quarterback Band-Aid
was an upgrade.
Settled itself and was an upgrade.
An upgrade.
They could win by running the football. And the things that we were all laughed at for pointing out or just defiantly dismissed for pointing out, and I don't pretend to know more about football than somebody who gets paid to do it. I don't think I know more about football than Jim Irsay. I don't think I know more about football or have been around it more than Chris Ballard. But it's amazing to me that the things that we were all just like, well, these need to be addressed, that were never addressed, are the exact reason, Derek, that they're losing.
Or you address them and you address them poorly. I think the biggest surprise to me is that the things that I thought were going to, at worst, stay the same got way worse. Like, I thought there's no way that this offense's floor could fall below where it was December Carson Wentz.
Correct.
Passing-wise, where they were completely one-dimensional. They couldn't throw at all. And I thought, okay, well, Matt Ryan will at least raise that floor. He didn't. The offensive line, there were signs of regression even last year. But I thought to myself, well, this isn't going to be like the worst unit in the league or anything like that. It's one of the worst units in the league, right? So I think that's the real disappointing and kind of hard to rationalize sort of thing. Why all of this individual player regression, and why have, like, I expected them to struggle at left tackle. I expected them to struggle at right guard, and they have. But why have they continued to struggle at center? Why have they continued to struggle at right tackle? And that's a big problem for, Jonathan Taylor hasn't had a great season. When he's actually been carrying the ball, he's looked like himself, but he hasn't been great this year.
The problem with Jonathan Taylor is there's only one place they can run him, between the tackles. Yeah. I mean, they can't even think about trying to pop him outside. And I don't even He's got great speed, but they can't think about popping him outside because there's no bookend protection.
And can you really judge Alec Pierce for a quarterback that's incapable of throwing it downfield?
Fair. That's fair.
Like, can I judge Michael Pittman Jr.?
I think we now know that Alec Pierce is going to be a good player.
I think so too, but I feel like I have to grade the receivers as, maybe you give a good grade to Paris Campbell because he's finally been healthy and on the field, so he's been able to produce, but I feel like you have to give that a big fat incomplete because it's not, Pittman's had his issues this year, and Pierce, maybe he needs more separation. He's just a young player. But I think, like, those guys, it's hard to even judge them because this is a team that can't throw. They have no vertical passing attack. And Ryan looks cooked. So, is cooked. And it's a big problem here moving forward.
Matt Ryan's had a great career. And he's been obviously, a good citizen in Indianapolis since he came here, right? I mean, seems like a nice guy. Derek, I know that I'm 10 years older than Matt Ryan. Well, 12 years older than Matt Ryan, 15, whatever it might be. I'm 50, right? But I'm also not being paid to be an elite-level professional athlete surrounded by 24-year-olds.
Yeah.
One thing I can tell you is that the longer I go, and this is absurd that I'm making a comparison between myself and a professional athlete, but the one thing I know is that as I've gotten older, I've not gotten younger. And the little things that used to be a week to bounce back, 2 weeks to bounce back, are now 3 weeks, a month. And it's always something. I am a car with 150,000 miles on it. I've taken it in for tune-ups and oil changes every time the manual says so. But every time I take it in, there's something else that's like, you might want to get this looked at. And that's what happens when you get older. And for Matt Ryan, once the arm went away, it's gone. It's over.
Yeah, but the cracks that you're seeing now is that he can't even get the timing right. The accuracy has faded.
Right.
It's a lot of stuff. The stamina is not the right word, but the for lack of a better term, presence of mind when facing the pressure, he just completely breaks down. And you were hoping to rely on those veteran things for him, and you just haven't had it. Look, Matt Ryan's been a stand-up guy. He seems like a terrific human being. Part of me wonders if he'll just decide to retire on his own after this season.
I think the Colts
honestly,
are probably hoping that, right?
Yeah, you would definitely hope that. If it were me, I'd be like, no, you're paying me this money, my man. I'm sticking around. You can bench me if you want, but I'm getting my $25 million or whatever it is. But I do wonder if that's going to be. But at this point, Jake, you can't even continue with this for another. You can't possibly bring him back.
But Chris Ballard seems to think that that's okay, right?
You can't possibly do that.
Let me tell you what I've said. Let me tell you what I said on my radio show last week, and I am dead certain of all the things that I've ever come up with. This is the most brilliant. And you've made a habit over the last 10 years or so of commenting on some of my brilliant takes. This one,
because they're so rare. Yeah.
Well, this one's right up there. Just brace yourself.
Okay.
As I have made way too much mention of, probably, I am still in the process of finishing my college degree, and the last 2 classes that I have to take are algebra classes.
Ugh.
Because I knew when I was in undergrad, I had some sort of a block with algebra. I never passed it in high school. I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't do it. I attempted 6 times to take algebra in college and ended up having to withdraw all 6 times because I was failing so miserably, right?
6 W's.
Correct. So
Franklin Hall.
When I was in my late junior year at IU, they basically were adamantly saying to me, you have to get out of the university division and into the College of Arts and Sciences, which means you have to have completed all your prereqs, right? I never made it out of that because I kept staving and putting off algebra because it was the one mental hurdle that I knew as soon as I started to take it for good without withdrawing from it, that it was going to expose me as somebody who was not capable of being in college. Quarterback is Chris Ballard's algebra. He has avoided it for 5 years because he knows the second that you draft the quarterback that you're going to build your franchise around as a general manager, you are on the clock. You've graduated from university division to the College of Arts and Sciences, and you are now considered a legitimate upperclassman, you've made it through the weed-out process student. And Chris Ballard knows and knew that drafting a quarterback was going to put him on the clock and put all the pressure on him, whereas not drafting one and avoiding it like I did algebra allowed him to be able to say, but the clock hadn't started on me yet because we haven't drafted a franchise quarterback. Guess what? Judgment Day is here.
Yeah.
It has come, it has arrived, and he's got 2 choices. One is to go out and get himself the young quarterback they're going to build around, or the other is to go back to Kansas City or wherever the hell it was he came from and take his little Brooks Brothers sweater and his southern drawl and his batty eyes and condescend other people and get defensive about it and just move on and never let us have to talk to him.
The question is now, is he even going to get to make that decision, as you say, right? So you've never made that decision. You've always been scared to, and now the Colts might just not give you the chance to make that decision at all.
Listen, Chris Ballard might be the nicest guy in the world, okay? This is a soft media market, Charmin soft. When Chris Ballard sat like a petulant child in a press conference and tried to blame the media for the fact that his offensive line sucks, the gloves came off. Do your job and don't blame me for the fact that you haven't done it well. Period, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think what the last 3 weeks have shown, we haven't even talked about Jeff Saturday in the timeout last night because I don't even really feel like much of the game is relevant, really, in a lost season. But what it has revealed is that the Colts' problems go way beyond who the head coach is. I still think, Jake, I'm not going to make this sound like this was a majority of people, but you have it with your morning show, too, with Kevin. You heard from people that legitimately thought that, Frank Reich was holding this team back, right? Frank Reich wasn't holding this team back. He deserved to go. But what was holding this team back was their personnel.
Correct.
Among other things.
Well, that's the other thing is now, and I wonder sometimes if Jim Irsay's not dumb like a fox.
He gave a pretty dumb interview last week.
Did he jettison Frank Reich because he knew that put all the onus on Chris Ballard?
Yeah, I think he kind of alluded to the fact that Saturday was his inside man. You tell me if you agree with this. I don't think Jeff Saturday has ever been or will ever be under serious consideration to be the permanent head coach of this team.
Derek, I've said before, and I'll say it again.
You think I'm wrong there?
No, I think Jeff Saturday was brought in to do an inventory and then report back to the owner as to everything that needs to be done.
I think they brought Jeff Saturday in to be interim head coach because they wanted to get him in the door.
Correct. Correct.
I don't think they brought him in to be the future head coach of this team. And after the calamity last night and the fact that this team's probably going to finish 1-4 or worse down the stretch, you're not going to continue with Saturday as your full-time head coach. So what was Irsay thinking in his own cunning that was going to be the case? I don't know. I don't know what goes through the mind of Jim Irsay. But his talk last week, did he give that interview to Kravitz or Holder or was it The Athletic?
I think it was both.
Okay, or ESPN, whatever it was. I want to give credit where it's due. I think he talked to multiple people.
I think he did a call with Bob and
Gotcha.
Steven,
He talked to multiple people, but he said that, look, the trajectory of the team has changed, and he got defensive again. And I just worry about defensive Jim Irsay because Jim Irsay, when he's at his best, he's kind of the the happy-go-lucky Willy Wonka hat type guy, not the defensive pound fist and table. I know football. Like, that's the Jim Irsay that I'm worried about seeing here moving forward.
Jim Irsay, Derek, who is a good person, has in the last month for the first time started to remind people within the organization of his father.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that his father had a lot of demons that thankfully Jim Irsay has held at bay. But in terms of becoming over-involved and making impulsive reactionary decisions, I think there are people that are like, this is who he doesn't want to be.
Yeah, and it's sad. I mean, this is going to be – we're about to wrap up, and all the years run together, right, Jake? I mean, time flies. You probably still remember when you were at North Central and, playing cassettes and whatever.
Like Maxell tapes?
We're about to wrap up the 8th season of no division championship and really, for the most part, go nowheresville. Look, I know the 2018 team technically had kind of a success. 2020 was a success, right? They won 11 games. They were fine. But really, the Colts haven't been anywhere in 8 years.
Let me tell you something that has to be of concern to Jim Irsay. Has to be. I want you to, right now, off the top of your head, tell me everything you know in 20 seconds or less. Tell me everything you can about the Orlando Magic.
They've really struggled for the last couple of years. I have no idea who their head coach is. It was Frank Vogel. Was it Jock Vaughn for a little bit?
Okay.
Okay. And Caro.
I want you to now take.
I'm trying to name. Is Mo Bamba still in the Magic?
So hold on. Now,
yes.
Take 10 seconds. Take 10 seconds and tell me everything you can in 10 seconds or less about the Arizona Diamondbacks.
That ninth inning against the Yankees in 0-1 should have never happened.
Current.
You got to get Mark Grace out.
Current Arizona Diamondbacks.
They weren't able to do it.
2022 Arizona Diamondbacks.
You can't let Mark Grace get on base in that situation if you're Mariano Rivera, and then Luis Gonzalez comes up and maybe
the 2022 Arizona Diamondbacks.
And it's too bad.
What we have just done is shown exactly what a sports duo during sports talk radio in Orlando, Florida, or Phoenix, Arizona
100%.
think of the Indianapolis Colts.
There's nothing really to say. Fantasy sports.
They are irrelevant and boring to the vast majority of football fans.
Fantasy sports and gambling will always give NFL teams a little more relevancy, right, than an NBA team or a major league team. But your point is well taken. They're just kind of one of those franchises.
I was there last night. I don't care what anybody else says numerically. I'm sitting there looking over it. And first off, when I walked in and I got there just a little bit, I got there basically as the game was being kicked off.
Yeah.
Which means that by the time the elevators got me up to the press box, it was midway through the second quarter.
Yeah.
And I hear this, as I got off the elevator, I heard this roar. I mean, I thought, oh, well, the Colts just scored. And it was an interception for Pittsburgh. That crowd was 35 to 40% Pittsburgh Steelers fans.
That's what Rake was saying. He said it probably 65-35 to 64,
right.
And they were loud.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that's a team with 3 wins.
Yeah. I mean, it's an unbelievable.
The only thing that Jim Irsay would
brand.
hate more than his team not being playoff bound is seeing the other team's fans in his stadium. Now, granted, he still gets his 40%. What's he care?
Sure.
Right? But that is a kick in the groin.
And that's the sad thing is that you used to like to think that the Colts, look, the Steelers, Cowboys, right? They're on their own tier as far as NFL franchises. But you used to like to think the Colts were knocking on the door, right? Proud, well-run, competent. They don't do stupid stuff. They're not the Jets. They're not Houston, whatever else. And now you can't really say that anymore. And that hurts too. As much as the irrelevancy and all of that sting, the fact that I don't think Colts fans can really puff out their chest about this franchise anymore is sort of a sad and depressing thing. Let's get to our lose. Who's cooking? This isn't sad and depressing. There were some good performances last night.
L-O-U apostrophe S, not L-O-S-E, right?
Yeah, what
you said lose, and I'm like, well, that's what we've been talking about is how the Colts lose.
Yes. No, lose are not losers.
Absolutely fantastic, by the way. Absolutely fantastic.
They're great.
And this is the Lou Malnati studio, mind you.
Colts probably played their best quarter of the season. It should have been 21 donut in the third quarter, and it ended up being 14 donut because of the botched exchange.
Zero's fine.
Between Ryan and Taylor. But it could have been 21 donut there in that third quarter. That's not our who's cooking. I couldn't pick a quarter. I have to pick a person. Jelani Woods looks like he's going to be a piece moving forward.
Jelani Woods, especially in that third quarter, here we go, right?
7 catches all year. He had 8 last night, so obviously a big career high there. Just missed the century mark, ended up with 98 yards. This is what the last 5 games going to be, Jake. Just looking at, okay, who's part of this moving forward? Who ain't? And I don't think Saturday is. I don't think Chris Ballard is. But of the guys on the field, and there's some guys that are going to be, I mean, you're stuck with Ryan Kelly. You're stuck. That's not a movable contract. But there are some guys on this roster that I think they're going to be taking a hard look at. Paris Campbell in a contract year.
Bobby Okereke,
who's the linebackers were not good last night.
Zaire Franklin.
That's something I know we had spent so much time talking about last night. I thought they really struggled defensively. Like that is not a good Steelers offense.
Well, you made a very good point last night, Derek, which was the Colts are the way that they have played. The Colts are kind of entitled to a bad day defensively. It's going to happen every once in a while. But this offense for the Colts is so inept that they can't
survive.
The poor defense can't get by.
And they got better in the second half. But I think overall, I mean, the Steelers moved the ball outside of the third quarter. They moved it all night.
Kenny Pickett in his little hands was.
Look, I'm not going to sit here and lie to you. I haven't been sitting around watching Kenny Pickett or the Steelers this year because they're not very relevant. I was impressed last night. I thought he zipped the ball in there. I thought he played unafraid.
He's got some moxie. You know what he has? Here's the thing. When you look at now, with USC, it's probably a little different with Caleb Williams. He's not going to be eligible for another year anyway. Mm-hmm. But if you look at quarterbacks right now, you have to have mobile quarterbacks. I don't mean necessarily that you need a guy that's going to be Lamar Jackson, but you got to have somebody that can extend plays.
Yeah.
Trevor Lawrence had designed run plays in college at Clemson. But aside from him, if you look at guys that are able, right, Derek, who would you say right now are the best quarterbacks in the NFL at extending plays?
Besides Lamar Jackson?
Yes.
I mean, Kyler Murray's really good at it.
Okay.
Patrick Mahomes extends plays.
Okay.
I mean, Jake, pretty much everybody. Josh Allen can move around. Yeah. Okay. And everyone can move around now.
Now, tell me a receiver from Texas Tech that's in the NFL.
Kiki Kuti.
Okay. Tell me a receiver from...
Is Michael Crabtree still in the NFL?
Tell me a college receiver Kyler Murray threw to that's in the NFL. I guess was CeeDee Lamb Oklahoma?
Yes, right?
I think that's right.
Yeah.
Outside of him? Tell me a Wyoming wide receiver that's in the NFL.
No. Has there ever been a Wyoming receiver in the NFL? Did
guys,
Wayne Quebec go
guys in the NFL, and this is where like a Bryce Young, now Tua maybe debunks this a little bit, but I think there's something to be said for having quarterbacks that played collegiately at places where they weren't throwing all the time to 4 receivers that are going to play on Sundays.
Yeah.
And therefore, they were throwing to receivers where the ball had to be exactly where that receiver needed it and where they had to extend plays because receivers were having difficulty getting open. And that's one of the things for the Colts as they look at who they're going to draft. Like Caleb Williams clearly can extend plays with his legs. I mean, don't get me wrong. But I think one of the things that is a key component to look at is who are guys that can naturally be mobile. There's a difference between being naturally mobile and being mobile by necessity. You know, Matt Ryan or Carson Wentz last year was mobile by necessity because his line was collapsing.
Yeah.
You know, that's one of the things I think that the Colts need to look at. They've got to get a quarterback that and Kenny Pickett. The reason I'm saying all this is because I saw Kenny Pickett play a lot at Pitt. I saw Kenny Pickett basically beat Clemson at Pitt with his legs. He wasn't throwing to, you know,
great players.
Pickens
Larry
all the time.
Fitzgerald, yeah.
Right. But he was having to extend plays. He was used to that by the time he got to the NFL. And when you are a rookie quarterback, the biggest thing for people to overcome is the roof collapsing on you. It can set you back. And that's one of the things they've got to look at. And Kenny Pickett,
100%.
to his credit, Kenny Pickett was poised last night.
Mobility has to be, but luckily, basically all these guys that they're going to be looking at are mobile. I think what's so tough about the quarterback decision, we'll spend plenty more time on this in the coming weeks and months, is that there's really no rhyme or reason to it. Big school guys have succeeded, big school guys have failed.
You're right.
Small school guys have succeeded, small school guys have failed. Guys that were one-man shows have succeeded, they failed. Guys that were on stacked teams have succeeded, they failed. You know, you can't just say, okay, we need a guy who played at a lesser college program and it was all on his shoulders and he has this, and this as his specific skill set, because there have just been so many guys that you just don't know who's going to succeed.
Do you relate to Kenny Pickett?
Why? I do. Yeah, I do have small hands. You can kind of see. They're not normal size hands. Now, my grip is fine. And actually, I can, because of the compactness of it, the power that I can lay with my fist is actually much more powerful than people that have hands a quarter or double the size of mine.
Have you ever punched anybody in your life?
I've done those tests where you punch into something and they can measure, I don't know if it's like analytics or whatever it is, and they can measure the power. And I almost broke the machine when I did it.
Okay.
I almost broke the machine.
Was it at Chuck E. Cheese?
This was at the St. Teresa Carnival in 2002.
Okay.
And I paid my 5 tickets, and I got to use the machine, and I almost broke the machine, they said. The carny there said he'd never seen anybody, I think it said packed a wallop or something like that. Never seen it before.
Did you get a stuffed
animal? And
animal?
Probably hasn't seen it since.
Did you get a stuffed animal?
I got a SpongeBob SquarePants.
You knew who liked that? Party Man Nick.
Yeah. Was a big SpongeBob fan.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. So the small hands I make up for it in other areas. So we're gonna move on to the next thing. Happy stuff to talk about. The Pacers, in fact, with a big buzzer-beating win last night over the Lakers. Yes. And how about
they did wallop a punch?
You talk about too good to believe. How about Purdue's week?
Oh boy,
my goodness!
That might be the best weekend in college sports since we've done this show.
It's incredible. We're going to talk all about it. We come back. It's Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Stick around.
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh.
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate. They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is
God, there you go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
Wrestler! Wrestler!
Whoa!
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. Alongside Jay Query, I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks for tuning us in. 855-350-HOME for our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group, BAWFG.com.
Mike's got to be happy. Mike Wood, who is very philanthropic, by the way, involved, particularly in the south side of Indianapolis, but making sure that your money stays right here in Indiana, family-owned business, and they want to take care of you to get you into your next home at Bailey and Wood, BAWFG.com, as Derek had mentioned. He's got to be happy with his Dolphins.
Yeah, playing really well. And great high school football
loaded,
season
man.
for them, too. Center Grove, third straight title, and then Whiteland reaching their first ever title game. They fell a little bit short, but in one of the more entertaining games from Thanksgiving weekend at Lucas Oil Stadium. So congrats to Mike for that, too.
It is time for our Hero of the Week, Derek. And this, first off, tell me about the sandwich, because this is outstanding.
This is aptly titled The Very Best. So Christina has multiple cheesesteaks on her menu. Obviously, she has a traditional cheesesteak with whiz and all that stuff. She has a chicken cheesesteak as well. Sometimes she makes a buffalo chicken cheesesteak, which is actually, you had that the other night when we were there, right?
Chicken.
Just chicken?
Chicken.
Okay. Sometimes she makes that as a special, which is really good. This actually might be my favorite of her cheesesteaks. So what this is The Very Best. It's named after a shop in PA that makes sandwiches like these. House sliced ribeye, just like you get with all of Christina's cheesesteaks. House spicy sauce. What I would compare it to is like a spicy sloppy Joe type sauce. Really good. Kind of ketchupy, vinegary. American cheese, which I don't usually like, but I like it on this. And onion. And really good. And on the bread from South Jersey.
I mean, and listen, Hoagies and Hops is a pretty remarkable place because, as I mentioned when we were in there, I'm from Indianapolis. I love Indianapolis. I love Indiana. Literally, like, I bleed the torch, right? So I love people that have a pride about their hometown, and that's exactly what you get in Hoagies and Hops. It's homage to Philiopolis, as they call it now, because it's Philadelphia brought to Indianapolis, but it really does. I mean, you're talking about Philadelphia, which is known for their hoagies, and then, of course, you add in the fact that they've got beer there, so you have the hops. But it is fantastic. It's a great environment. It's a great atmosphere, and it's a great neighborhood corner location. If you have not been to 42nd and Boulevard, you need to go check out Hoagies and Hops. You will absolutely love it. Great place. Time for our Hero of the Week, Derek.
It's time for the Hero of the Week. That spicy sauce, it's different a little bit, isn't it? Good.
It's growing hair on your chest?
No, I don't need any more, but did any more pop out during that? Can you tell? I'm going to trim it down a little bit. I usually let my winter coat kind of just come in naturally, but I think I might trim it down a little bit because it's starting to kind of creep up to my Adam's apple, and that's a little high. Like, I want to keep the hairline. I want it to peak above just so people kind of know, hey, there's something interesting in that package I'm about to unwrap. Okay. But I want to.
Can you let me know when we're done with this so
okay.
we can get on to.
Yeah, we'll get back to it. Okay. Purdue Athletics is the Hero of the Week, right? What a week.
Unbelievable.
It's just absolutely incredible. All the Purdue people in my life who I talked to over the past 72 hours are in this is just too good to believe it's true mode. I mean, it's incredible. Even the longtime ones, like I heard Alan Karpik say, I can't think of a week that was better than this one. And when Alan Karpik says that, who goes back, with these programs 40, 50 years, we got to ask Tom Schott maybe if he can think of a better week for Purdue Athletics. But not only winning the bucket, which I think was sort of a given where Indiana is right now, I think he felt pretty confident as a double-digit favorite, even after a bad first half, that Purdue was going to come back and win that game. But to go out to Portland, this is a team, Jake, that lost 4 starters.
Oh,
they lost a top 5 NBA draft pick.
Derek, I think a year ago, Jaden Ivey's an unbelievable talent and a great player to watch, and he was super fun for Purdue. And it would be naive to say that they got better by losing a player like that. But I think at times last year when Jaden Ivey had the ball in his hands, because he was so dynamic, you had other guys reliant on him, and everything kind of went through him, and so people were standing waiting for Jaden Ivey to get things going. Now they have Braden Smith handling the ball, and Braden Smith is actually waiting to get everybody else going. And I just think that they, in terms of their cohesion as a group, Caleb First has become an unbelievable, like, final pass guy to get it into Zach Edey or to pop it out to Lawyer for a three. Mason Gillis, who Purdue was patient with, Kaufman Wren, who they redshirted, and he was willing to wait his time. This is a team where every part has fit in beautifully with the way they're supposed to. Is that going to last for the whole season? I don't know. But for right now, they have put together as good a resume as anybody in college basketball, and assuming that they're able to simply stay at a decent level throughout the Big Ten, it's going to help them come seed selection time because they've already got 3 good wins.
Yeah,
away from
quad
home.
one. Yeah, these are all going to be quad one wins. And as much as it's the team dynamic, right?
And Derek, they blew them off the floor.
The team. Jake, Zach Edey, if he's the best big in America, then Purdue is going to be – it all starts there. I mean, these are all – the consolation is around Zach Edey right now. And I think we have to give him credit for – it is very hard to play Gonzaga and have the best player on the floor. It is very hard to play Duke and have the best player on the floor. And they've had the best player on the floor in those games. So you're right. For the March flops, I know people have brought that up lately. Purdue, ever since the Virginia game, it's been a little bit snake bit, to say the least, in the NCAA tournament. Matt Painter is masterful in knowing exactly who fits where, who fits the program, and he gets these selfless guys that aren't worried about who gets credit. Every single player that plays for them contributes. When Waddell's out on the floor, he contributes. When First is on the floor, he contributes. Right. When Newman's on the floor, he contributes. Every single guy that they put out there does something
and knows exactly what the role is, right,
to further winning for Purdue. And that's, I think, the best compliment that you can give a program and a head coach.
If you were a snake, what kind of snake would you be?
I haven't really thought about that.
Like a Gartner snake, probably, right?
No, something a little more fearsome than that. Not a python. Even though I've been compared to that. One of those desert rattlers, probably, that are small, but they have like a ton of venom that can kill you on the spot. That one. Is there a snake like that exists? Because people that underestimate me or misjudge me.
A diamondback?
And then you get bit, and then it's nighty-night.
Okay.
Yeah.
In addition, Derek, by the way, so Purdue Athletics.
Why did you ask me that?
And what's that?
Why did you ask me that?
Why not?
I thought you were going to transition into like a point about snakes.
No.
You're just being an idiot? Okay.
What's that? You
know
what I mean?
All right. Let's get right back to Purdue. Great.
Okay. Purdue Athletics, Mike Babinski, the athletic director, right?
Yes.
Our hero of the week for an unbelievable weekend. So boiler up and congratulations to Purdue. Derek, also in terms of in-state athletics, I got to talk about Ball State as well, right?
Yeah. Unfortunately, so close to bowl eligibility. And these games, which we talk about in the MAC, they're
a couple of them got away from them there conference-wise at the end.
You lose 18-17 to Miami, and just a real heartbreak. So Mike New and the Cardinals finished 5-7. They will not be bowling this year. And to go from 5-4 to a 3-game losing skid is really basically you had bookends in the season.
But
that were
their biggest piece comes back next year, right?
Carson Steele coming back for sure. Hopefully portal and all of that. You never really know. And this was a Ball State team that was picked to finish last in the MAC West. So to see as competitive as they were and have a chance in so many games, they played 8 one-score games out of 12.
That's the MAC, though, right?
So that's 2/3 of your schedule
coin
right
flip
there.
League.
And you went 4-4 in those games. So I think ultimately, taking the long view of Ball State's season, it was better than a lot of people expected. You just wish you were so close to getting there to bowl eligibility, and you just missed out.
Now, Michael Lewis's group right now just over 500.
4-3.
But I'm telling you what, they play in a great arena in Worthen Arena, and it is fun to watch him because, you're talking about a guy in his first year as the head coach that's still probably, it's a lot like when Norman Dale first addressed the fans and said, I'm still getting to know the guys, and they're getting to know me. That's probably where Ball State is right now.
Yeah, 4-3. They lost to UVM and San Jose State, but they've got, speaking of Pittsburgh, who the Colts played last night, they got a team from Pittsburgh playing Duquesne coming up here on Saturday. And the Cardinals women's team got a huge road win at BYU. So they're now 4-2 on the year. They've got Western Kentucky at Worthen. They've got a couple of games at Worthen. BallStateSports.com for tickets and info. And these are great programs to support. I think both of the basketball teams' trajectories are pointed straight up.
Yep,
pointed straight up.
Speaking of basketball, by the way, we've got some Pacers.
Yeah, let's talk some Pacers when we come back. A big buzzer beater for the blue and gold, and I think now we're a quarter of the way in the season. We can declare.
I've got 2 trivia questions.
I'm worried about doing this because I'm worried people are going to take it and then they're going to go on a horrible losing skid. I think we can declare that this team's pretty good.
They are, yeah.
I think we have enough of a sample size to say that. So we'll talk about it next. It's Query and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is caught.
There you
oh,
go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That is
Wrestler!
Wrestler!
Whoa!
Rolling right along here on this special Tuesday edition of Query and Schultz. Alongside this empty chair, I'm Derek Schultz. Thanks so much for joining us here on the ISC Sports Network. Maybe you're watching on YouTube or Comcast 81 or via Twitter. I know Jake and I both retweet these feeds, even though I have to text him to retweet this feed every single night that it's on. Our Twitch channel, we're trying to build that up as well, or old school podcast style. Some of our old radio listeners still listen via the podcast, all major platforms. Thanks so much for supporting the show and hanging with us every single week. It's easy to
text me.
You always forget. You're literally tagged on the live stream. You are tagged on there. It shows up in your mentions. Please retweet the
Do
show.
you know how many mentions I get? I hit a Twitter milestone over the weekend, Eric.
30K?
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, about it's not a very – what I always say is that my audience is less than yours, but mine's a far more engaged and active and, like, interested in Derek Schultz.
Because mine are all bots.
Audience. Well, yours are all bots, or they're over 70 IndyCar fans. So they're just not on social media very much because, I don't know, retirement home, internet access, or anything like that of what they might have.
Okay.
Or they have to load minutes.
Well, if that's the case, then my audience might not have been up late last night to watch the Pacers and the Lakers, right?
I didn't stay up. Well, I'm making jokes about it. I went to bed right after the Colts game. And
well, let me tell you something.
I'm bummed that I missed it.
What you missed was our Love That Play. Love That Play is brought to you each and every week, by the way, by the good folks at Love Heating and Air. Love-HVAC.com is their website. 317-353-2141 is their telephone number. That's 317-353-2141 for Love Heating and Air, who've been around for over 100 years now, 4 generations deep in Central Indiana. Great product, knowledge of the product, commitment to customer service this time of year, making sure that everybody's staying warm with their furnaces up and running, and, of course, coming out and doing the check if need be. That's what you get from Love Heating and Air, love-HVAC.com. Each and every week they bring us our favorite play of the week with Love That Play. And last night the Pacers were down 19 in the fourth quarter. And, of course, a young team trying to find their way through to see exactly what they have. And as Derek said, maybe they are pretty darn good because they were down 115-113 late in the game. Tyrese Halliburton found Miles Turner, who missed a 3. Halliburton gets the ball back, dribbles it around, looked like he was going to run the clock out, and then he finds his fellow young player who is a rookie, Andrew Nembhard, who hits a three-pointer in the face of LeBron James as the buzzer sounds. Literally, the horn went off while the ball was in the air. Pacers win in Los Angeles for our Love That Play, our favorite play of the weekend. Derek, my trivia question for you is this. Andrew Nembhard hit the first shot to win a game where the clock literally expired before the ball went through. Since what player?
Danny Granger in Phoenix?
No. Good guess.
Was it more recent than that?
Yes.
Ooh. I don't know. It's rare that it happens where it's just all
Correct.
Mark Monty made a great point on Twitter where he said, look, like this is probably only like the 10th or 11th time this has ever happened in Pacers history.
Right.
Tell me.
Solomon Hill.
I don't remember that at all.
Okay. Secondly.
Was it a tip-in?
I don't recall, actually.
Did McRoberts have a tip in at the buzzer to beat the Lakers? Or Troy Murphy, maybe, when it hit zeros? I think they also beat the Lakers at the buzzer.
2014 is when it happened.
Gotcha.
I think it might have been against Atlanta, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
But Andrew Nembhard is the first rookie to hit a game-winning shot for the Pacers since?
Reggie Miller.
No.
Chuck Person.
No.
I don't know.
Keep going. Right era. This guy played with both those guys. As a matter of fact, Chuck Person forced him to change his jersey number.
I still don't know.
As a rookie, he would have been number 24. Then Chuck Person got traded, and so he went ahead and acquired number 45.
What's Rake is trying to make hand signals to me? Should I just start naming Pacers draft picks from that era?
Go ahead.
Rick Smits.
That is correct.
Okay.
Congratulations.
So
well
he was the next year. Okay.
It's very efficient.
Great. Yeah. Perfect.
Okay.
What I like about Andrew Nembhard is that he is the player on this team.
Oh, and he absolutely plays within himself.
Where you're like, everything else is so good that you forget that Andrew Nembhard is also very good. He's made you completely forget about, I feel bad for him because he's hurt, but Duarte. And you just kind of wonder what his he was billed to be the backup guard of the future for them. And now you're looking at him, you're like, backup? He could be a lot better than that.
Well, Nembhard reminds me a lot of myself in the fact that doesn't get a lot of accolades, nor does he expect them. Perfectly happy being just a guy that does what's asked off the radar without a lot of attention, doesn't require attention, doesn't need pats on the back, just does his job. Right?
Yeah, that is not the same comparison I would make. How about some props for Kevin Pritchard, too? Because the big complaint with him was always, hey, he keeps missing in the draft. And now you look at the last two draft classes, Duarte, Jackson, Nembhard, and of course, Matherin. And you're like, wow. You know, in a time where the Pacers need to be churning out doubles, triples, and homers, they've gotten a lot of those.
And they've also parlayed things into, like an Aaron Nesmith or Jalen Smith, when healthy, are guys that are young that can become really good pieces for them.
Jalen Smith's another guy who's had a perfectly solid season, but it's like he becomes an afterthought because everything else is so good.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh, yeah, and there's Jalen Smith. Okay, cool.
Yeah, 23 the other night. Career high,
you're just like, whatever. I mean, this is not only a team that's going to, I think, threaten for the play-in. I think they might be a team that threatens to make the field outright.
No, for sure.
I mean, I wouldn't write that off.
They're way ahead of schedule.
Yeah, I wouldn't write that off at this point.
They're way ahead of schedule.
And they're fun to watch, and it's just it's sad that the Colts are doing this while the Pacers are doing this, but at least you have...
especially considering, though, Derek, that we thought it was going to be the opposite.
Yeah.
Right? Like, the Colts are circling the drain, and we thought the Pacers were going to be this year, and the Pacers are on this rise, and that's where we thought the Colts were supposed to be.
I just think we're in store for what's going to be a really fun basketball season here.
I'd agree.
Because Purdue, coming out of nowhere the way that they have, Indiana's going to be very good. Both of those women's programs, Indiana's women's program is incredible, and Katie Gerald's is going to have Purdue in year 2 be really strong too. And then the Pacers. I think for as frustrating as this football season has been, I guess outside of Purdue fans and maybe in some cases Notre Dame fans, this is going to be a really fun basketball year.
Are you ready to get back into the NFL?
Yeah, we're going to do that when we come back. Talk about some of what we learned in Week 12. We still have quick hits to get to, Sage Move of the Week, and our Chateau Buy It or Bowl Bleep.
All right.
Coming at you next. Corey and Schultz, ISC. Stay here.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap. Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Other universities didn't fit into my life.
They said I'd have to quit my job to go to school.
They said it would take me 4 years to graduate. They said I have to take tests when they tell me to.
They said my degree would cost a fortune.
But I didn't have to listen to them.
Because I have a university that listens to me.
Tests on your time, courses on your time, graduate on your time. WGU, the University of You.
McCulling in time. Oh, No! It's good.
This one is
Ah,
caught.
there you
oh,
go.
wow. Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
Got it in the air.
Wrestler!
Wrestler!
Whoa!
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Morgan did a snap. Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Hi, welcome back to Square and Schultz. I guess I'm taking it. My name's Derek Schultz. Really, it should be Schultz and Query. So, hi. Here I am again, taking it back in.
That seems
Jake
hostile.
only does the intros, I guess, from now on. He's always there for the intros, but never wants to do any of the rejoins. So here I am, rejoiner guy. Hi. I've got one more coming for the next segment, so stay tuned for that when I bring home the show once again, as I always do.
Let me read for you my text messages from last week.
Okay.
This one here, you ready? From Lil Hands, and it simply says, reminder, retweet show tonight.
Yep.
Next one. Got to thinking about it. Can I take it more out of breaks?
No.
Hey,
I don't
you've been
remember
doing a lot out of the breaks. How about I do a few? Any chance you'll let me talk a little bit more out of breaks?
This sounds like a Caleb text thread. It's not me. Former intern.
The overenthusiastic intern.
Every text from him starts with any chance. And I feel like saying, no, there's no chance, Caleb. There's no chance of your any chance happening. Let's get to the NFL. We love Caleb, and he's probably watching right now. He's like our one person that watches every week on Twitch, which I appreciate. You had kind of spoiled the surprise here, but looking around week 12 in the NFL, no one's talking about the Dolphins. They've won
It's
5
unbelievable.
straight now. They're 8-3. They're beating on bad teams, but still, that's what good teams
The
do.
two teams,
good
Derek,
teams
the
beat
two
on bad
teams that are pretty good that nobody talks about, Miami and Minnesota.
Yeah. Well, another team I want to throw in there, because after their slow start, we were
Can I guess?
Sure.
Go ahead. After their slow start, what?
After their slow, well, I'm going to give it away if I continue there.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If they were to face Miami in the postseason, would it be in the Super Bowl or the conference playoffs?
You mean in the well, they're an AFC team, so it'd have to be in the conference championship game.
I'm thinking about teams that you said got off to a slow start.
Yeah.
Cincinnati?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They've won 5 of 6. And that's another team you thought Super Bowl loser curse, right? They were kind of a fluke participant last year, and here they are in control right now, the AFC South. And the Niners, I think, are another team
Niners
that
are good.
You're not going to want to play.
The Niners are good.
Like, yeah, they're 7-4. You are not going to want to play that team. That defense and they're the NFC looks completely wide open.
You know who? I'll tell you a team that is. I'm not going to say a playoff team per se, but you know who is slightly more competent than people gave them credit, and it's going to cost the Colts. I'm not saying they're great, but competent.
Jacksonville?
The Washington Commanders.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're going to go back to Tyler. They're going to stay with Tyler Heineke, and it's going to cost the Colts the draft pick, the conditional for Carson Wentz. Is not going to be a second-round pick.
The funny thing is that their offense isn't doing anything, but they're still winning. And maybe that softened the blow a little bit. I kind of promised myself, Jake, that I wasn't going to do this compare and contrast thing, like what Wentz. I was ready to move on from Wentz. But to see him just become a backup quarterback and even if Carson Wentz did great this year for Washington, that was always going to be the right decision to move on from him. Like, I still saw people tweeting about it last night. I was like, Carson Wentz wasn't going to bring this team anywhere.
That's true.
He probably has more in the tank right now than Ryan. That I didn't know.
Who is the NFL MVP right now?
I think if they keep playing the way that they are, I think Tua's going to have a really strong case.
I'd agree. Totally agree.
I mean, the best player in the league continues to be Patrick Mahomes, right?
Over Josh Allen?
Yeah. Mahomes is the best player in the league, pound for pound. I really feel pretty firmly about that, but I think probably Tua. But it shows it's hard to write these guys off, but it also shows if you invest in the right spots, you can win.
Do you know who is a huge fan of Tua?
Who?
Reb Porter.
Tua. Yeah, I remember that from back in the day. Time for our Sage Move of the Week.
Okay.
Brought to you by our friends at WGU Indiana.
WGU Indiana, by the way, is Indiana's largest online accredited university. WGU.edu/Indiana. Whether you're talking about going back to school, you might be one of those 700,000 Hoosiers who have college credits out there that you thought expired. They don't. And you have not gone back to finish your degree. WGU Indiana is there for you in that regard. Or it might be that you're thinking about pursuing a college degree for the very first time. WGU allows you to do it on your schedule with online classes to acquire what you once thought was not possible, and that is a college degree, or perhaps just work certification. You need those classes. WGU has you covered. WGU.edu/Indiana for Indiana's largest online accredited, easy for me to say, university. Because ambition never rests, which is why neither do owls. See, they're nocturnal. Their heads on a swivel. They always are. What are you pointing at?
See, Rake left for the day, and now we have our little WGU graphic. And you see we've got on ISC, we've got the Sneakers for Santa Boys Shootout, but we don't have like the graphics template up. And I think this is a big opportunity for Jordan, who is stepping in for Jake, to show off some of his personality, because he's actually a really funny guy. He likes The Office.
Okay.
He has a lot of personality, but I think he's a little bit more introverted when it comes to this. And I want him to feel like he's part of the show.
He apparently disagrees with you because you can see what he said.
Well, that could be some sort of I think that's an error message. That's not something that Jordan wrote. So Jordan, I want you to feel free if you want to write any graphics up there in the graphics overlay and be part of the show. Like, just kind of be yourself. Be the best Jordan that you can be.
Okay.
I want him to just kind of grow as this show. I mean, the show. There's room on the rocket ship for
most people are confused because they think that there's really only one Jordan on this program.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Sage move of the week. We talked about kind of the quarterbacks. I think it could not have been an easy decision for the Jets in the middle of year 2 to be like, look, this isn't working. We got to move on.
Especially considering they're winning games.
Yeah, but they're winning in spite of Zach Wilson. So they move on from Zach Wilson, and one game does not a validation make. But you go to Mike White, who's been this backup and been part of your program for the last couple of years.
What did he play collegiately? You want to guess?
I don't know the answer to that. Yeah. Fresno State.
Okay, I'll go with Toledo.
I don't know the answer to that. And he turns in not only your best passing performance of the season, but one of the better ones that you've had in recent history. 22 of 28 for Mike White, 315, 3 tuds in their blowout win over the Bears. So good for Mike White, our Sage move of the week, and good for the Jets, 7-4 on the year. They've put together a really nice season.
Who did you guess for?
Fresno.
Not a bad guess.
Yeah. Out west?
What's that?
Is he out west?
He began at South Florida.
Okay.
Finished at Western Kentucky. Yeah. Which, by the way,
I don't know.
Byron and I on our road trip, our most recent road trip, we came back through Bowling Green and decided to go check out Western Kentucky. That's a cool little campus. That's a cool town, yeah.
Kentucky is really scenic and
it is. I
and
mean,
pretty.
I was like, man, it was really nice.
A lot of Kentucky is
and
very
their football
beautiful.
stadium's nice.
Mm-hmm.
It's nice.
That's kind of the problem. I know you love Indiana. I love Indiana. You're driving around in Indiana, you're just like,
it's pretty flat.
Yeah. But Kentucky, you're like, wow, this is horse farms and rolling hills, and it's actually kind of
so our Sage move of the week, the New York Jets. That's another team, Derek, that we are not talking enough about. I mean, the NFC East is loaded, and they're decent.
It's still hard to take like the Giants and Jets seriously with who they've been the last 10 years, but clearly they look like they've.
So you think Zach Wilson's done, or you think it's a wake up call?
Ooh, I actually don't. I don't know enough about the inner workings of the Jets, but if you are willing to bench him in the middle of year 2, that leads me to believe that you're moving on.
Right. Did they get reaction from his mom?
Let's not go there. Let's not talk about that. Biter, Bull Bleep, and quick hits when we return for a final time here on this Tuesday edition. Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network.
Hey, I'm Jeff Saturday, and my favorite thing when I was a professional football player was Indiana. The Hoosier State always made me feel like family. That's why I trust Indiana's hometown mortgage lender, Bailey & Wood. This family-owned company not only gives back to the communities they serve, but also with their 5-star customer service, they can close on your dream home in days, not weeks. So remember, Indiana, you can always get your mortgages at a snap with Bailey & Wood.
Hey, Jeff, how does this look? Yay!
Not bad, bud, but let's stick to mortgages.
McCulling in time. Oh, no! It's good.
This one is gone.
There you
oh,
go.
Wow, Dawson makes a great catch.
Spin, win, 3, bury it for Leland Walker.
Tie the game they do with the dunk by Malik Edmonds. What a play.
Oh, my goodness.
I feel a little momentum starting to fall Ellen's way.
That in the
Wrestler! Wrestler!
Whoa!
Hi, I'm Jake, and I'm supposed to jump in immediately so that Derek doesn't have to take it out of the break because apparently that's a phobia that he now has. So welcome back to Query and Schultz here on the ISC Sports Network. I'm Jake Query. That's Derek Schultz with a stupid frozen grin on his face. And this is the incredibly creatively and appropriately named Query and Schultz program on the ISC Sports Network. And by the way, the Colts still suck. Derek?
I'm so happy that you decided to just do that on your own. Like, we didn't even go like, you take it, I take it. I was not going to take it, by the way. So it was just going to be silence if you didn't take it. But I appreciate
Okay.
that you kind of picked up on my mental cue. Sometimes I try to send you messages, and that time it worked.
Okay.
Telepathically.
Do you like my spray tan?
You know what? It's less orange than I'm used to.
I know the solution does seem to change. My hands are a little orange. The solution, and this one hand is tanner than the other, which is odd.
Yeah, it's your hands. You can usually kind of tell.
I know, that's the telltale,
Let's
for
get
sure.
to our quick hits here. Not a lot to talk about. This is actually sort of a sad thing, and we had mentioned it. The reason that we're not talking about U.S.-Iran is because that game is about to kick off as we're taping right now. So anything that we say is going to immediately be nuked. It's going to be time sensitive. But
can we not use nuked when talking about U.S.-Iran?
Well, yeah, probably not a great word choice. 3, 2, 1.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, by the time that all of that is over, I mean, it's going to be completely bombed and out of the picture. A Qatari official, this is actually in all seriousness, the backdrop of this is just so ridiculous, right? The fact that they're in Qatar at all, with all of the bribes and everything that takes place, you know, the corruption. Apparently, an official involved in the World Cup's, the country's World Cup bid, put the number of worker deaths related to the tournament at around 500, which seems like...
You mean in terms of preparation for it?
They have gotten a lot of criticism from human rights groups for taking in a bunch of migrant workers to build all of these buildings, stadiums and all of that. And they were working them long hours, and I don't know if there were any workplace accidents or exhaustion or whatever else, but... It's beyond the pale that 500 people would give their lives to play this stupid soccer tournament. But, you know, I don't know if you're allowed to say that. It's sad. It's sad to me.
That's terrible.
That
yes,
humans
and you know what's going to happen,
takes
Derek?
A backdrop to sports.
What typically happens in these situations, and this is the thing to me that's the most frustrating, is they go into these second or third world countries. Qatar's not one of them, but they go into the countries with basically very little middle class, and the wealthy make gaboons of money off of the lowest class, and they build these massive stadiums and complexes that then go
sit
empty and rot.
They sit and rot.
After 3
Look at
weeks.
Brazil,
right?
On the Olympic venues there, they're all like their diving pool. I saw a picture of it a couple of years ago, and it's got like, you know, it looks like your outdoor kiddie pool when you leave it out all winter,
right?
You know, it's gross. Quick hit number 2. This always works itself out, right? We waste so much oxygen on it. College football playoff seems pretty self-explanatory. What isn't so self-explanatory is if there is some toe stubbing along the way, because then who this fourth team is going to be,
it's Ohio State.
Is going to be
it's Ohio State.
A little bit more difficult.
Which is ridiculous because Ohio State lost by 3 touchdowns at home, and their strength of schedule is like 65th.
But your wins still matter.
But everybody knows that they're...
Yeah, your wins still matter more than your losses. And Alabama's resume with Ole Miss going belly up the last couple of weeks, it's just not good enough.
Pull up Alabama's schedule, and I'll pull up Ohio State's,
okay,
and we'll see who has better wins here. Okay? Because Ohio State, and again, I mean, Ohio State got blown off the field.
Yeah.
Absolutely blown off the field.
In the fourth quarter, but yes.
Yeah, but still, I mean, at home, if it was on the road, it's kind of excusable, but at home, really?
to maybe the best team in the country. But yeah.
You think Michigan's the best team in the country?
They might be. Michigan could win it all. You don't think
generous.
so?
Huh?
You don't think Michigan can win it all? I mean, they're clearly the second best team in the country.
I think Georgia's the best team in the country.
Yeah. I'm just saying.
By the way, I got the new update on my iPhone, and it's like so slow. It freezes constantly.
I mean,
it's very
the best wins for Alabama are Texas, Ole Miss, Miss State.
Okay, I'll give you Ohio State's here. You ready?
Ohio State would be what? Penn State, Notre Dame. Is there a third that's any good?
Well, I'd be able to tell you.
But still, Penn State is a better win than anything that Alabama has done this year.
Okay, Ohio State's schedule. Their strength of schedule is not great. They have played this year. This is ridiculous how long this is taking.
I've got it right here if you need it.
Ohio State's okay. Go ahead.
Yeah. So Notre Dame, Arkansas State, Toledo, Wisconsin, Rutgers.
A little slower here.
Michigan State.
Notre Dame. Okay.
I guess Iowa would be their third best win.
I mean,
yeah. Iowa's a 7-win football team. That'd be their third best win. But again, Penn State is
I'm looking at it here.
Penn State's a better win than what those other teams have. And they have one fewer loss. So you can say what you want about the fact that they got blown off by Michigan. They did, but they've lost one fewer game.
Right.
And that's got to be worth something too.
Well, listen.
Regardless, USC wins the Pac-12 championship. I think TCU might be in no matter what.
Here's to me what's interesting, and I think it was Dan Wetzel that made this point, and I had never thought about it. You and I briefly discussed this. If you make it to your conference championship game, once you're in your conference championship game, if you don't win that game, should it hurt you and allow somebody who is sitting on the side of the road idle?
Yeah, I agree. Should the 13th data point only to help you instead of harm you?
Right.
Yeah, I think there's something to that.
It's kind of like the SATs. When you were in high school and you took the SATs and they told you, like, this is the end-all be-all, then you later find out the SATs were like a tiebreaker if you were a borderline student for admission, but nobody was going to deny you because you had a low SAT score. I mean, maybe Harvard, but other than that.
I mean, at this point, Georgia's in no matter what happens with the SEC game.
Correct.
I think there's a chance that Michigan's in, even with a loss, but they're not going to. As
What
much
about
as I would love
TCU?
to see it, yeah, Michigan's not going to lose.
What about
to Purdue.
TCU?
TCU might be in even with a loss. Yeah,
Okay.
At this point. Now, their cachet is going to hurt them a little bit because they're TCU. If they were Texas or Oklahoma, they'd
That's
be
correct.
in for sure.
I'd agree with that.
Right now. And then USC.
So make me feel better about this, Derek. If Clemson had beaten South Carolina and they were entering into the ACC title game against North Carolina, but with the four where they are right now, would Clemson still be on the outside looking in?
Yeah, they'd be fifth. Yeah.
Okay.
I think. They might even be sixth, and the committee would put like Alabama fifth or
That's
Ohio
possible,
State
yeah.
fifth.
Because
that
they got blown off the field at Notre Dame.
Yeah. So it's probably better. I mean, I think I told you this on the phone when we talked about
And
it.
DJ Uiagalelei is way too inconsistent.
Jake calls me all the time, but Clemson this year reminds me of Notre Dame last year, where you just knew they weren't that level of team. So you'd rather them just play. I mean, you don't want to lose to a hated rival like South Carolina, right? But you'd rather them just play in a bowl game where Clemson doesn't gain anything by losing by 28 to Georgia in the first round of the playoff.
Right.
They just don't. Go to a bowl game where you can beat somebody. Clemson's going to go to New Year's Six Bowl, right? Assuming they win the ACC.
I think Clemson's going to play Alabama in the Orange Bowl.
Which will be tough.
For sure.
But I don't think they're going to – I don't think Alabama's going to blow them off the field.
No, they won't.
I don't think so.
It depends on which DJ Uiagalelei shows up.
Yeah.
When he's good, he's really good. But more often than not, he's been really bad.
Yeah, it's just it's just a weird – this has been a very weird year. It's a great year for parity, but this playoff – and maybe people like the new blood, but it's hard to say that you're going to get as excited watching TCU play that you would watching Alabama or Ohio State. It's just a different level. Final quick hit. Odell Beckham Jr.'s removal from the American Airlines flight in Miami apparently will have no bearing on the Cowboys' interest in signing him. Police said Beckham was in and out of consciousness and refused to leave the plane when asked. His attorney said it was an overzealous flight attendant. Problem is they had to take everybody off the plane. Can you imagine being on that plane? You got a little kid with you. I mean, it's just traveling. Traveling is so terrible.
He would become my least favorite player of all time.
It's just unfortunate. Like, don't make your problem into my problem.
Right.
That's sort of like my mantra of life. Like, you live your life, do whatever you want. Once your problem becomes my problem, then it's an issue.
You know what I've never understood when they're boarding airplanes? Why don't they board everybody All windows first, then all middle, then all aisle.
I haven't taken an assigned seat flight in probably 10 to 12 years.
That's right. You go private.
Yeah, we do Southwest. Okay. I've been on a PJ, but we do Southwest. Sorry, on a Peach.
A Peach?
Private jet. Yeah. It's a fairly common thing when you're in our world.
Okay.
Peach, PJ, whatever else. You just got to be careful that you do the p in front of it.
Heading to your favorite city this weekend,
not
Eric.
The
I'm heading to your favorite city.
New York?
No. I'm being somewhat facetious, but you like this city.
Boston.
I go this time of year.
Like
I go for the weekend every year. I go for a weekend this time of year.
I don't know.
And then you went on my advice, and you said it has a lot of steeples, a lot of churches.
Oh, Milwaukee.
Yes.
Yeah. We had a great time in Milwaukee.
Great city.
Much better than our first time in Milwaukee. But the weather cooperated this time.
Yeah. It's a good city.
Yeah. It's a cool place. You and Shannon just going up?
We are.
Yeah. Cool.
Yep.
Yeah, it's nice when you work 20-hour weeks and then you can just kind of go in and get out of town for a little bit, take a little bit of a break. Chateau Kitchen's Biter Bowl Bleep. Let's do that.
All right.
Our friends at Chateau are the absolute best. Ryan, the project manager. We got a meeting with Megan next week. We're going to pick out cabinetry for our laundry room. You want to come see the laundry room when it's all done? It's exciting.
Can I bring laundry?
No, you cannot.
Okay, then no. I have no interest in
No, you
your
cannot.
laundry
I'm
room.
not watching your old
But
man
I'm sure it'll look
clothes that
great.
are all cologne-y and ugh. Not doing that. ChateauKitchens.com, at Chateau Kitchens on Instagram.
I do smell good all the time.
And Facebook, they're up to 60,000 followers on Instagram.
Wow.
Before and after pictures. I mean,
Well,
it's a bunch of beautiful kitchens. Why wouldn't you not want to follow that? And they can do anything on the interior of your home. Yes, kitchens are their specialty, but bathrooms, anything indoors. They do great work. My friends at Chateau Kitchens. Here we do a bite or bowl bleep. I give a statement. Jake and I go back and forth whether we bite or it's bowl bleep. Statement 1, the Colts will only win one more game this season. Bite or bowl bleep?
Buy it now. I would have said Bull Schultz, but I think they're mailed in, Derek. I think they are more checked out than that IU football team watching Tom Allen maniacally spit all over the place.
I was waiting for you to bring that up. I think they're going to go – I know my dream of them going 7-9-1 looks unlikely now. I think they're going to win 2 more. I think they're going to be right there in the middle, and it's going to cost them draft. I think the Colts are going to pick 12th.
Okay, that's probably
That's
right.
what I think.
Yeah.
That's what I think.
Just in time to take a lineman.
Because this is the kind of season where they're just gonna end up with the number 12
another defensive tackle.
Who knows? Statement 2: Aaron Rodgers won't finish his career as a Green Bay Packer.
Bull Schultz, I think he's done.
Going to be hard to get out of that contract. Didn't he just?
He's only got
sign
1
like
year left, right? Wasn't it a 1 year deal?
I thought he signed like a 4-year deal.
Really?
Wasn't it crazy for like $50 million a year?
I thought it was a 1 year deal. I could be wrong.
Am I wrong about that? Rodgers
He's
contract.
done, man.
Let me look. Aaron Rodgers.
He's
contract
too weird.
Details.
He's too weird.
He is a strange dude for sure.
Great player. Was.
He is under contract through 2026.
Oh, okay. Well, I was wrong. My fault.
Then
yes.
So the dead money, oh my God, it's 128 million this year, then 99, then 68, 45, then 22 when he'll be 43 years old. It's a really interesting place right now with him and Russ Wilson.
That fall off was like boom for both of them.
Dude, Russell Wilson too. I mean, Russell Wilson is that's going to cripple the Broncos for years.
Carson Wentz this year has more touchdown passes than Russell Wilson.
Yeah. I mean, and Carson Wentz has played half the games probably, right? I mean, geez. Statement 3. You know what? I'm going to say Bull Bleep because it's going to be, I think, they're stuck with each other. Maybe they deserve each other, those two franchises. Purdue and Indiana will finish the top 2 of the Big Ten in some order. Bite or Bull Bleep? League looks good.
I'll say Bull Schultz just because I like I'll take the odds that in Illinois or a Michigan State finish in the top 2.
1-2. Hoosiers and Boilers, Boilers and Hoosiers. 1-2.
Okay.
Rah, rah. I'm a split jersey guy now, Jake. Starting next week, I'm a Purdue employee / IU grad, so I love both of those schools equally. I'm in a text thread with
which basically secures that your son's going to go to Wabash.
My ex-IU roommates, I'm on a text thread with them, just like you are with a lot of your high school, college friends, and I keep referring to Purdue as we and us, and they're getting extremely upset. extremely upset about it. Thanks to all of our great sponsors, Hoagies and Hops, Love Heating and Cooling, Lou Malnati's, Bailey and Wood, the presenting sponsor, Chateau Kitchens, WGU Indiana, Ball State Sports. Am I missing anybody?
I
feel like we got everybody.
You said Love. You said Hoagies and Hops,
I think
right?
we got everybody. Thanks to Vince. Thanks to Jordan. Thanks to Rake, who's not here anymore. We'll be back at our usually
not here
scheduled
today.
time, Monday of next week, for a new episode of Corey and Schultz, episode 114, and we'll see you then.
Thanks,
Have a great
everybody.
week, guys. Bye.